Welcome to Mindshock. This is Maxwell Powers.
And this is Bruce McGuire.
And this is Johnny Mills.
This is Dogman Part 2. What is the Dogman? We're going to go over different theories of what the Dogman can be. In our previous Dogman episode, we went over a bunch of different accounts and witness testimonies of different veracities. I think Johnny Mills thought they were all 100% concrete, right?
Soft concrete. Hasn't hardened yet.
So you're saying their accounts could possibly get hardened with sufficient evidence that has not happened yet.
Too much water was added, so it's never going to harden.
Okay.
There's a stream of water going in.
I thought some of them were pretty legit, and I think all of them, the person saw something. To me, it looks, for some reason, just from some of the pictures, it looks more bear to me than wolf. Like,
yeah, some of them
it just does not look like a wolf to me.
Yeah, even
it looks like a bear. Does not look like a dog.
Especially after seeing the video that we watched above the bear, like walking around.
Yeah.
It looked exactly like that.
But I don't want to tell, like, I don't want to say all these expert hunters don't know the difference between a dog and a bear. I mean, I'm sure they know the difference, and maybe in person it looked more like a dog. Maybe it was a big dog or a big wolf or a dog man. Yeah. So, let's examine the giant wolf. Could it be an unknown species of wolf?
That walks on his hind legs sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they walk on their hind legs 100% of the time, but another species of wolf that has, for some reason, they developed to walk on their hind legs more frequently.
That would make a lot more sense.
But obviously there can't be that many of them because there'd be way more accounts. I mean, there's way more Bigfoot videos and photographs than Dogman.
And Dogman's like only in Michigan for some reason.
No, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. We just went over the Michigan. Yeah. I mean, in our next episode, we'll probably be going over UK and Europe for Dogman.
Okay.
There are several extinct wolves. There are several recognized prehistoric wolves currently extinct, like the dire wolf, which is similar in size to the gray wolf. So it's still probably not big enough to be mistaken for a humanoid wolf unless it's just a gigantic one. Because like with almost every species, you have sightings of one animal that just happens to be way larger than the other of the same species. Kind of like humans too. Like you do have like 8-footers walking around or 7-foot, 11-inch people. There's not a lot of them, but there's a couple, right? So could some of these cases just be mistaken giant wolves or prehistoric extinct wolves that aren't extinct? Because we see that in cryptozoology all the time. The establishment scientists say, oh, it's extinct, but then there's a bunch of sightings, and those people get called crazy, and then eventually they actually capture one, and then they're like, oh, wait, maybe they're not extinct, so...
What do you call that whole thing? It's
cryptozoology, yeah.
Because it's like weird animals? Is that what that is?
Animals or creatures that are not officially recognized or that are stated to be extinct.
What currency do you think they use? Crypto?
Cryptocurrencies? Cryptids use cryptos? Do cryptozoologists prefer cryptocurrency over any other currency? That should be a new poll.
I like it.
Then there was also the Amphicyon, which was a 6-foot-long, 400-pound bear wolf creature, but not humanoid. So it just got traits of a bear and a wolf. Here's an actual interesting article from SasquatchStories.com. Is Dogman in the fossil record? When confronted with the concept of the Dogman, many people, even those inclined to believe in Bigfoot, simply shake their heads. In fact, many Bigfoot researchers tend to only accept the phenomenon either as a misidentification of ordinary wolves or coyotes, or at best, a type of Sasquatch with a pronounced face, but still a primate, like a baboon. Indications are that this baboon-faced Sasquatch actually does exist and is referred to as Type 3. However, most witnesses are obviously not looking at a hominid because so many talk of seeing backward bending legs, like a wolf, and even tails. So obviously something else is happening here. Perhaps what people fail to take into account is the incredibly long spans of time involved in the evolutionary process. If you believe in evolution. Maxwell and I discussed this on our aquatic Bigfoot episode. I don't know if you've checked that out yet, Johnny. So, do you believe...
It sounds better. I like it.
Do you believe in evolution, Johnny?
We'll talk about that another time.
So, according to the scientists, that's a good way of phrasing it, it took 4 million years for us to evolve. The canid family tree goes back much farther than that. Not measured in millions of years, but in tens of millions. After all, if bipedalism proved so successful for our ancestors, why could it not have proven just as successful for a distant canid ancestor? Is there any indication for this in the fossil record? Bearing in mind that the fossils themselves are very rare, only form in certain conditions, and procuring a full skeletal fossil record even more rare, there are actually very large gaps and multiple options for possible dogman ancestors. Let's look at some of them. In the more recent past, very large wolves wandered the plains of North America. The tar pits hold literally thousands of their skeletons. They were the infamous dire wolf. These large canids wandered the plains and forests of America alongside regular wolves, mastodons, and bison. Back then, the grasses on the plains would have grown very tall and thick, perhaps prompting some carnivores to stand on their hind legs in order to get a better view.
What's the mastodon again?
Giant elephant. Hairy elephant with tusks.
That's different than the mammoth, woolly mammoth? Or
Why do you call it woolly mammoth? Why?
woolly mammoth? I don't know,
That's
because
a
it
good question. I
had
don't
woolly fur.
Oh,
Is
Are
it
they called
mammoth
that
or
woolly?
mastodon?
what are they called? That
I think it's
woolly
the same
mammoth?
thing.
Mastodon. It's the master don of the mafia. I was like- I guess it is an elephant, but it's a little different.
Or is
Okay.
the mastodon the ancestor of the woolly mammoth?
They have small ears, the mastodon.
That's the only difference?
I mean, look, it's kind of funny. You know, elephants usually have these big-ass ears.
Oh,
So I guess they couldn't hear
Wait,
that
so
well.
the mastodon does not have hair.
so the only difference is that hooking.
No, the mastodon looks like it does have hair. There's been supposed woolly mammoth spottings.
Yeah,
You
I've
hear
seen
that?
those. Yep.
Woolly mammoth has, like, crazier tusks.
Yeah, it's just curled up. Wait, is there?
All right, to answer your question from livescience.com, mammoth or mastodon, what's the difference? These woolly mammoths were not closely related to mastodons. Mammoths and mastodons have once roamed the earth together, but they represent two distinct species of the Proboscidean family.
Imagine riding one of those just to get around, like an Uber.
So mastodons were shorter and stockier, and not nearly as furry. Okay?
Okay, because
Even though that wasn't directly related to Dogman.
then there's also that megalodon, right?
The giant shark?
They always end with a don.
Yeah,
the
they,
giant shark.
referring to the infamous dire wolf, these large canids wandered the plains and forests of America alongside regular wolves, mastodons, and bison. You know, it's an interesting point, though. How come people aren't spotting bison man? Or, like, some of these, or deer man, like some of these other creatures. Like, if they're just making stuff up, wouldn't people have throughout all of the years of human oral tradition of passing down stories? Like the Native Americans, they talk about Sasquatch.
What's
Bigfoot.
interesting is, like, every time they add, like, a man to it or whatever, it's like it's walking upright or something.
So if they're just making it
Wolfman.
up, why is nobody seeing bison walking upright?
Do they?
I don't think so. I think they could for like a jump or something. They could. I mean, not walk, but
What
they
else
could-
walks on, like, could walk? An elephant, definitely not. Well,
Deer probably could.
maybe. But then would they call it deer man?
I guess.
Just because it walks on its hind legs?
I don't know.
It's just because, like, with the dog man, they say it had human features, right? And it had blue eyes and whatnot.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me when I was growing up. I heard these stories of this dog. No, they from. I mean, I heard it multiple times. It's weird how these stories like get around. Like from like 5 years old to 10 years old. Like I always heard of this story of a dog with a human head walking around. It was
That's
crazy.
real, or are you making that up right now?
It freaked. What?
You're making that up, or you
No, right now? No, I heard it.
you heard it there? That was an
I
actual
heard it
story?
growing up, 5 to 10 years old. Like people talked about it all the time.
Dog with a human head.
Dog man.
Dog with a human head
So that's dog man.
walking around. Well, I guess you could say
Wait, dog
that,
with
but
a human head. That's the opposite of dog.
yeah,
man.
it'd
Dog
be-
man.
So is it
a
man
humanoid
dog?
with a dog head.
Man dog? I don't know.
Man dog. It's a man trying to be a dog, not the other way around.
That creeped me the fuck out because I was young as hell. I'm just saying. I don't know. It's kind of.
Back then, the grasses on the plains would have grown very tall and thick, perhaps prompting some carnivores to stand on their hind legs in order to get a better view. Recently, I heard a researcher report seeing a large coyote standing on its hind legs for quite some time in order to better observe the researcher. Is this how Dogman evolved? Regular dire wolves standing upright to see over the tall grasses of the plains for longer and longer periods. Reports of today's dogmen tell of them moving on all fours more than they do bipedally, but also be able to walk and run bipedally if they choose. Are dogmen simply relic dire wolves that, because of greater intelligence, maybe even due to bipedalism, excellent night vision, and nocturnal hunting behavior, and the ability to walk upright, have managed to survive and hide from the human onslaught? This theory is supported by many reports by many witnesses reporting horrible popping noises as the animals stood up like their joints were popping into different directions. It's almost like, I guess, a werewolf movie during a transformation. The problem with the dire wolf as a possible ancestor to the dogman is their size. They were not much bigger than the gray wolf, and their teeth don't match the slicing razor-sharp teeth reported from dogman encounters. So there must be another candidate. Perhaps the Epicyon haydeni. A meter tall at the shoulder, a fully grown Epicyon haydeni was pretty large and on its hind legs could potentially stand upright, almost as tall as some reported sightings of dogman, but not as tall as many witnesses report, which is 9 to 12 feet. But it also lacks the razor-sharp teeth often ascribed by witnesses to these animals. Perhaps a better-suited candidate comes from another genus. How about the hyenodons?
It's like a hyena.
Most of the hyenodon genus, no relation to today's hyenas, were not anywhere near large enough to be a contender. But if we dig deeper, we find one called the hyenodon gigas, which stood over a meter tall at the shoulder. Incredibly, this monster's teeth were self-sharpening, designed in such a way that the upper and lower incisors crossed like a pair of scissors. This would fit the witness description of razor-sharp teeth. It was also very large. If standing upright on its hind legs, it would have towered over us and perhaps even threatened the power and size of a fully grown male Sasquatch, once again perfectly matching the witness descriptions. The Hyenodon gigas lived during the Oligocene epoch, which ended 23 million years ago. This epoch was notable for its many evolutionary changes over its short 11 million year period. I guess short compared to other epochs. It saw the appearance of many grasses and the herbivores that fed on them, the first elephants, early horses, etc. The following Miocene epoch would see the grasses producing extensive plains and incredibly huge herds of animals. It would have been an endless food source for such a large and powerful ambush predator, armed with devastating weaponry more than capable of bringing down the largest herbivores. I suppose the emergence of these expansive grasslands led to an evolution of hunting technique and potentially bipedalism in these monstrous animals. Because of their size, all they had to do was stand on their hind legs and they could see their prey over the tops of the tall grasses. Naturally, it would have helped in stalking technique too, and eventually they learned to not only stand like bears do, but to stalk and even eventually run fully upright. Remember, compared to human developing bipedalism over only 4 million years, the hyenodon has had 23 million years since the Oligocene to evolve, adapt, and survive into the present. More than enough time to evolve to a more humanoid dogman. The problem is the fossil record is unbelievably scant. Who knows how many species, subspecies, and even entire genuses roamed the planet in the distant and not so distant past that we still have no idea existed. And who knows how many unknown species still hunt the night to this day, lurking in the shadows, hidden from our daytime eyes, but not from our darkest nightmares. So what do you guys think about that?
I like that theory where they stand up to look for prey
Over the tall grasses of the grassland? Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's kind of
They're
it
tall.
It makes sense that
What?
Just a regular wolf is tall. Can't imagine those. You said over a meter?
Wait, you have photos
At
of
the
them
shoulder.
standing
At the
up?
shoulder.
Are you looking at photos of them standing up right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
or
no kidding.
videos, actually.
Oh, no kidding. Do they stand up for a long time? Or?
Well, he was kind of
Let me see.
hanging off of some guy's shoulders, but it's like
Oh,
that's over 6 foot.
Wow, he's huge.
Yeah.
So if they could do that themselves,
Damn.
that would be kind of weird, just seeing this huge wolf.
It's still not humanoid enough, though. That's the thing.
I know.
Like, It's mostly reported as a man with a dog's head, and the legs bend backwards, or the torso is humanoid. So
And
the
when you
torso
report,
is
and you were,
distinct.
yeah, and when you report things like that, and you actually specify that it looks like a human body, like it's, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's just
If I saw a dog or a wolf, whatever,
And
walking
stand
around,
up.
I wouldn't say dog man, or like
Yeah,
I'd just be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it was a wolf
but
walking
if
around
but
on
if
2
you
feet.
but if you can notice like a human, like you would say
It
that
must have
that's what
been.
it would.
It must have really stood out.
Yeah,
Like, wow, that was a human dog.
yeah.
Okay,
And
so
how-
here is my favorite pick for what
Yeah,
dog.
do you have a
man-
number of how many how many have reported in history or?
I believe it's only hundreds of reports and not thousands, like Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
99 of them came from Michigan.
Well, hundreds,
Okay.
maybe like 500 reports.
Okay, that's still a big number
Well,
for
Bigfoot,
such a
Bigfoot
weird...
has like thousands
Oh, okay.
Damn.
or something
Wow.
like that. Yeah, thousands.
So it's a really small
Yeah, Dogman is nowhere near reported as much as Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's like 5% almost.
So here's what my most likely candidate for Dogman is actually a baboon. So the article reminded me of Dinopithecus.
Oh, okay. That's what it looks like.
Dinopithecus. That's
So-
some big teeth.
So it looks kind of humanoid because it's a baboon. So Dinopithecus was a primate genus of giant baboon as big as a grown man that lived during the Pliocene of South Africa. Males grew to 5 feet tall.
But see, those type of animals are in certain places.
You mean not Michigan?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. So it looks sort of like a big canid, but with a baboon face, so it does resemble a dogman. And, of course, the teeth. Perhaps the canid line is a red herring, because a giant baboon kind of looks like a dog, and a giant baboon is also humanoid. So, and it's got, that snout-like appearance on the face.
Yeah.
So Maxwell and I talked about Gigantopithecus as being a possible explanation for Bigfoot because Gigantopithecus did exist. It's a giant hominid, ape-like man. So we really have no way of knowing exactly how smart they were. So if they continue to evolve a little bit, that could be Bigfoot. Is Dinopithecus Dogman? Just looking because none of these other explanations don't quite add up. And I think Dinopithecus actually looks closer to Dogman than anything else. Or it could be a missing link of Dinopithecus.
Wait,
Or the next stage.
Gigantopithecus.
Gigantopithecus is the Bigfoot, possibly.
And that was that monkey ape thing you just showed.
That's the Dinopithecus.
What was the other one?
Gigantopithecus.
Hold on.
So Gigantopithecus is one
Gigantopithecus.
theory for the explanation of Bigfoot, that it's not extinct. Gigantopithecus survived.
Ooh, that's a big boy.
Yeah. So Dinopithecus, supposedly they only go to 6 feet, but 5 feet. But how would we know if it's a big one?
This is showing an example of 10 foot for Gigantopithecus.
Yeah, Bigfoot are usually reported 8 to 12 feet. So roughly in that range.
Damn.
How many of these were found?
Gigantopithecus? I don't
Yeah.
know. But anyway, we're
That's
talking about
huge.
Yeah, we're talking about Dogman now. So Dinopithecus, I think Dinopithecus could be an explanation, especially if they continued to adapt and they got smarter and slightly more humanoid. Or there could be a missing link if you believe, it all depends on how you believe in evolution. One species turning to another species as opposed to just adaptation. There's a bunch of different definitions for evolution, but Darwinian evolution is one species going to another species. So if you believe that, there would be linking species. Because a bird wouldn't just suddenly go to a human. There'd be steps in between.
Batman.
So, what do you guys think about that theory?
I like it.
All right, let's go to the scariest theory. So, if Bigfoot is the missing link in the evolutionary tree for humans, perhaps the Dogman is the missing link between an unknown human species and canines, which developed parallel to Homo sapiens, or even earlier. So, for those that believe in evolution, if there are many evolutionary paths for human development, ape, canids, aquatic apes, etc., perhaps the canid path died out, but a missing link remains, Dogman. So if there's a whole bunch of different species of humans, similar to Homo sapiens. Some of them could have went aquatic from an aquatic ape tree. Some of them could have went from a canid tree and possibly gone extinct, except for the dogman, which remains. That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah. So
What do you think about
that?
Aquatic dogman? Oh, that's got to be our next episode.
Aquatic Bigfoot had gills.
Aquatic Bigfoot. That's what Maxwell asked. Did you listen to our Aquatic Bigfoot podcast or no?
Yeah, I did. I just thought that was funny
Yeah,
when
I
you asked that
I
question.
asked that.
You don't remember the questions you asked? Okay.
I thought that was funny when you asked about it. Did it have gills?
Wait,
you
you
breathe
heard
underwater.
that?
Yeah, I listened to it. That was funny. Had fins. Like...
All right. And this wouldn't be Mindshock if we didn't go to paranormal theories as well.
Ooh.
So let's go to the spiritual or demonic explanations.
Insert Mindshock zapping effect.
So let's look at the Inuit and Native American mythology. So an Amarok is a gigantic wolf in Inuit mythology said to stalk and devour any person foolish enough to hunt alone at night. Unlike wolves who hunt in packs, Amaroks hunt alone. Writing in the 19th century, Danish geologist and Greenlandic scholar Heinrich Johann Rink reported that the Greenlandic Inuit reserved the word Amarok exclusive for this legendary wolf, whereas other Arctic people use it to refer to any wolf. So, again, I mean, that's not so much spiritual, paranormal yet. It's a legendary mythological wolf, which once again, depending on how you interpret mythology, whether it's literal or not, because if 10,000 years ago when they made the name for the wolf or whatever, it could have still existed. So to them, it wouldn't be a legend similar to Bigfoot. But are dogmen spirit animals of Native American people who scare off loggers and farmers or anyone else who kind of preys off the land? So are they an invocation of a spirit to kind of deter settlers who are cutting down trees or whatever? What do you think about that? Conjured spirit animals? No? Maxwell? No?
I don't know.
No thoughts. All right, so there was also, in the 1860s, the Cheyenne established a group of warriors known as the Dog Soldiers, or Dog Men. Native Americans would spend years studying or becoming one with their spirit animal, taking on the mannerisms of wolves or wild dogs. Allegedly, the Cheyenne Dogmen were all killed off by the U.S. Army. According to lore passed down from the elders, not all of them died. According to legend, some of the dogmen actually shape-shifted into dogs and now roam the woods and swamplands. It's worth noting that all witnesses of these half-dog, half-man beasts admit to feeling terrified there haven't been any known deaths attributed to dogmen, similar to Sasquatch. There actually have been a few, but unconfirmed. Kind of similar to Bigfoot, I think, again, it's difficult to say confirmed. People died and they're supposedly killed by Bigfoot, but they could have been mauled by a bear or whatever. We don't know for sure. So there have been claims, but not a lot. That's what's interesting. It's not like there's a lot of people claiming that Bigfoot ripped off their arm or killed them. So the claims are very, very few. So in Native American belief, you must invite evil onto yourself. So these creatures would not be able to harm you unprovoked. So this isn't really a podcast for shapeshifters or skinwalkers or any of that paranormal stuff. We will save that for another podcast. But what do you think about that?
I know there was a TV show back in the day.
Dog Soldiers?
Was there?
I don't know.
It was called Animorphs.
Are you surprised you didn't see that one, Maxwell?
Animorphs?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Humans turning into animals.
I'm surprised at it. I'm not surprised because I don't really want to see it. But
I think it was like a kid show. It wasn't really, or like a
Yeah, I don't
teenager
know.
show.
Also, so like obviously, I think you mentioned werewolf on the previous podcast, so like we'd have to do some werewolf comparisons. So what is Dogman in relation to a werewolf? I don't think anybody is claiming that a Dogman shapeshifts back and forth between human or not. But what if a dogman is a werewolf in permanent werewolf form?
He got stuck. Forgot how to change back. Midway.
Not necessarily. If I mean, are werewolves real?
Of course. Not. I don't know.
So like, if werewolves are real, obviously we need to have a dedicated werewolf
wait,
podcast.
so
but-
werewolf, real quick, it's a human that turns into like a
Correct,
wolf,
during
right?
the full moon,
and
yeah.
then they just walk around as a normal
Kill-
wolf.
No, well, they
don't
it's
stand
a
up or anything, right?
They
It's a
do. It's a
gigantic-
giant.
Oh, they do.
It's a giant wolf. It's similar to Dogman, but again, I can't get like if you look up images of Dinopithecus, like from just the descriptions of the Dogman encounters and even some of the videos, even though they're blurry and photographs, to me it looks a little bit more baboon-like. Like I don't see the dog. It looks more baboon or bear-like. It's like a weird baboon bearish creature. So, I mean, so we just went over a bunch of different possibilities for what the Dogman could be, evolutionary, and then of course, that it could be interdimensional. Maxwell loves those interdimensional theories. Is it an interdimensional creature, and then is it a ghost of a Dogman, a species that once existed that no longer exists, and if they were hunted to extinction by humans? There's also another interesting point. I've heard a few people talk about this, but not too many. Genetic memory. So if humans were once hunted and killed by creatures like Bigfoot or Dogman, there would be some of that genetic memory left over for you to be very, very afraid of like monsters or whatever, right? So, because genetic memory manifests different ways, people don't even realize it. Like we have so much genetic memory that we just kind of take for granted as part of our psychological process. So that's pretty interesting to think about also. What do you think, Maxwell?
Who's Cecil?
Genetic memory now?
Genetic memory?
Any final thoughts from anyone on the Dogman? We'll definitely be following up with more podcasts because this creature is pretty fascinating. And then with the advent of social media and cell phones, the reports are going up. So it's not, so is Bigfoot and Sasquatch.
Wait, the
so.
reports are going up for Dogman?
Yeah,
Really? Just recently?
in general.
How many this year?
I don't know. Go on the internet and you'll find a whole bunch. Whether they're true or not is a different matter. I'm talking about what's reported.
Let's go see it.
All right, we're going right now.
We got to meet up with that
Gotta-
lady that's
gotta-
writing that book. The
On
one
Dogman
that.
and Bigfoot. So
Michigan.
if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want notifications of new videos we post, don't forget to hit that bell. You can also check out our Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
Maxwell Powers.
Johnny Mills.
Have a good night.